Man, if only there was a magic gear to make my mixes sound better. Well, actually there is, and you've got two of them. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how to make the best use of it. Also, I'll show you how I went from this to this. Trust your ears. I bet you've already heard that when it comes to mixing, but stay with me because this video is completely different from what you're used to hearing out there on the internet. I'm going deeper. In my opinion, this is the best piece of advice that a producer could ever hear, and also the worst. Why? Well, pay attention, because if you don't get this right, it can seriously mess things up. Let's start with the best part of it. You probably hear a ton of music, don't you? And I guess you think it's well produced and it's really nice. Now if I asked you, what you think about High on Life by Martin Garrix, progressive house anthem, right out of the bat. Take whatever song you want and ask yourself, why does it sound good? I'll then ask you, how did you come to that conclusion? Did you get the original project files of all those songs you liked? Did that artist show you how they made that track? Sometimes it happens, but stay with me. Did you analyze its frequency spectrum, loudness, or whatever? Is there a secret council where people judge whether or not a piece of music sounds good? Actually, yes, it's called your brain, and it does it through your ears. Why is it that certain songs sound so good to us? Well, you have your answer in that question. It sounds good because we can hear it. Well, it didn't help, did it? Don't worry, I'll get into that really soon. Now here's where the trust your ears method can backfire, so listen closely. In order to trust your ears, first you'll need to have a good amount and quality of music repertoire, knowledge of what you're doing when mixing, as well as some experience in music production. It's easy to tweak things here and there, change the tone of a piano, make it sound different, and then think, oh, it sounds better. You'll soon realize that you could do that for hours, and it can always sound better. It's a hell of a loop you'd be stuck at this point. It might even sound better, but have you heard it in the whole context of the mix or soloed? Is your monitoring gear reliable enough to judge what you're hearing? You see, it is a thin line between trust your ears being good and bad advice, therefore you need to be clever. About monitoring gear, after some research, I ended up buying the Samsung SR-A50 pair of headphones for about $20 in my local currency, an excellent pair of headphones for its price. Then I learned about headphones EQing and how to do it in mine using Equalizer APO. There are websites that provide ready-to-go EQ curves for your headphones, and luckily for me, I found one for my SR-A50 on this website here. All I did was select my model, download the convolution curve, which is great because you don't need to manually EQ anything, then loaded it in Equalizer APO and restarted my PC. Boom, now I have my monitoring gear taken to another level. This headphone EQ stuff has something to do with the Harman curve, but I won't talk about it in this video. Also, it's really worth mentioning that your ears slowly fatigue the more you use them, as well as your cognitive ability, especially if you spend the whole day on your computer making music with the headphones blasting loud sounds. When it comes to properly mixing, you gotta take breaks periodically, even days off, if you're working for too long every day. Don't overlook taking breaks, bro. Been there, done that. Do not recommend it. Be less anxious. You'll have enough time to finish that track later, trust me. Okay, got it. I know the basics, I've set my gear up, I have a certain level of musical perception, and I'm ready to use my ears properly to get better mixes. Fine, now I'm gonna show you how to do that. The easiest and most reliable way to trust your ears is by using reference tracks. Seriously, reference tracks? I've heard it before. Yo, hear me out. I think people don't give it enough credit, myself included. I went my so-called career not using this method, just trusting my ears, so I ended up with trash results like
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Though, from the beginning of my producer journey, I knew I should be using reference tracks. Honestly, I was lazy as fuck back then. I would never finish arrangements, I would never sit down and study something new, and I didn't have the patience to A/B 2 songs while tweaking things here and there, trying to achieve something that looked impossible to me. Back then I wished I was born knowing everything. Wish you would have come to me by trial and error, even though I didn't have a clue whether I was wrong or right in my decisions. But it all takes me to today, and only now, after while mixing my Hit the Ground remix, I realized the power of A/B-ing your mix with a reference track you enjoy very much. For example, I used High on Life by Martin Garrix as a reference to achieve the sound of Hit the Ground. You don't need to use as reference terrific songs mixed by masters of audio engineering. You just need to take songs you really enjoy listening to and you want your own songs to sound like, preferably in the same genre or musical style. Also, don't be crazy with it. Try your best to make it sound as good as it can be, and if it doesn't, get back to sound selection and /or arrangement and fix it. Most people say you shouldn't fix it in the master ever. You should fix it in the mix. I say you fix it during the sound selection and arrangement. Or sound selection, mixing won't fix it. Again, do not overlook sound selection. Funny thing, I personally love Avicii's mixes, even though many would argue his mixing skills were trash. I don't care. Damn it, I love the low quality sound and busy mix of Enough Is Enough. Bro, for real, God only knows why that tune wasn't released, because it's a banger and defined my teenage years. I remember watching these videos playing Enough Is Enough on the old YouTube and dreaming of a great physique. Avicii knew how to make music. He wouldn't let technical stuff cloud his mind.
Yeah, I've never been very technical at all. I've always been very much more about, like, it's taken me forever to learn how a compressor works. It's taken me forever to learn how everything works. I've been always more like, if I tweak this, it sounds good, and if I do this, it sounds good. I've always been more like that.
You don't have to overcomplicate mixing, as well as you shouldn't fear making mistakes. It's how you learn. It's how I've learned. In my case, I always trusted my ears. I always knew my mixes weren't good at all.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
I was used to finish some tracks, listening back to them and thinking, man, this is crap, and I know it. But when I showed it to friends, they were always like, this is very good, bro. Until now, I finished my remix of Told You So after a year without making music, and someone told me, it is good actually, but it is lacking something. It got me thinking, bro. It really got me thinking. So I started working on Hit the Ground and mixed it using High on Life as a reference. Then again, I showed it to the same person and he was like, you got the job done. What's my point with this story? This is the very first time in my producer journey that I really feel like I got the job done. I know it's not perfect and I know it ain't nearly as good as High on Life, but it is 1,000 years ahead of my previous work. And now I got the key. I'll never mix again without using a reference track that inspires me. Now to recap what you've learned, you can totally trust your ears if you know what you're doing and have your gear set up to do so. Pick some music you truly love and will like your own music sound similar. Don't be lazy, get the freaking job done. Even if it ends up sounding trash, move on to the next. The more you fail now, less you'll fail until you finally succeed. If you think it sounds bad, find a way to start enjoying your own music. It is crucial. You gotta love what you're doing, bruh. As you become an experienced producer, you will eventually gain the cleverness to do what you think sounds good and combine it with the rules of mixing. You will almost instantly know when something's not sounding right. For now, focus on the main idea of your craft and don't be afraid to fuck things up. One thing I've learned from my favorite music production channel is that you don't finish mixes, you abandon them. I'll leave this message for you guys to think about. Trust your ears through other producers' ears. If you wanna hear what my mixes used to sound like before using references, I'll leave my remixes playlist in the end screen, so you can go and compare how far I've come. Listen to Hit the Ground next to my other stuff. My SoundCloud profile is in the description. There you will find my horrendous old music as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.